The black space was silent except for the hum of alien engines. Commander Zira stood in the center of her warship's bridge, her tall figure glowing under the dim red lights. Her eyes, sharp and golden, scanned the endless stars. Her people? The Vorthon were the most feared warriors in the galaxy, and she was one of their best. She had fought in dozens of battles, defeated enemies twice her size, and never lost. A message came from the High Council. The face of Elder Varric appeared on the holoscreen. His voice deep and commanding. "Commander Zira," he said, "you will travel to the edge of the human sector, but you will not engage them. You will only observe. No matter what happens." Zira raised her chin, hiding her irritation. Humans, to her, were weak creatures, fragile bodies, short lives, limited technology. She could not understand why the High Council was so careful about them. "They are not worth my time," she replied. "If I see them, I will destroy them in minutes." The elder's voice grew cold. "You will do as ordered, Zira. Disobey. And you will answer to us." The screen went dark. Leaving a heavy silence on the bridge, Zira's second officer, Kelron, looked uneasy. "Commander, maybe there is a reason for the order," he said softly. Zira's lips curved into a smirk. "Kelron, do you think a human can defeat me? Or even make me sweat?" Kelron didn't answer, but his eyes told her he wasn't so sure. Hours later, her ship reached the human sector. The view on the screen made her pause. A human fleet stood against an enemy armada much larger than their own. Lasers flashed. Missiles exploded, and the humans didn't fall back. They moved fast, using strange attack patterns that made no sense at first glance. One moment they were in retreat. The next, they struck hard from the side. Zira leaned forward, intrigued. "Despite herself, they fight like predators pretending to be prey," she murmured. Her crew watched too. Whispering among themselves, the humans were holding their ground, even pushing the larger fleet back. Zira felt a strange pull. She wanted to see them closer, test their courage for herself. The Council's warning echoed in her mind. But pride burned hotter than caution. She was a Vorthon warrior. And no one told her to stay away from a fight. She gave the order to approach. Kelron hesitated. "Commander, this will be seen as a violation." Zira cut him off. "The Council will thank me when I return with proof of human weakness." Her ship moved silently towards the battle. Slipping past the outer patrols, she selected a small human vessel on the edge of the fight. Perfect for a quick and easy victory, she thought. But before she could give the attack order, a sharp alarm rang across the bridge. A human transmission was coming through directly to her command channel. Her crew looked shocked. No one outside the Vorthon fleet had ever breached their secure comms so easily. On the main screen, a human appeared, dressed in a dark captain's uniform. His eyes were calm but sharp, like someone who already knew the outcome of the fight. "Commander Zira of the Vorthon Empire," he said in a steady voice, "if you wish to test us, step forward, but understand this, we will not show you mercy." Zira froze for half a heartbeat, not from fear, but from the boldness of his words. A human? Daring to speak to her like an equal. Her crew waited for her response. The air tense and electric. She allowed herself a small laugh. "Human captain, your courage is amusing. But it will be your downfall," she said. The captain tilted his head slightly, a faint smile on his lips. "Perhaps, or perhaps you will learn something you will never forget." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence again, outside. The human ship adjusted its position, as if inviting her to follow. Her pride flared. Her pulse quickened. This was no longer about orders. This was about proving herself, showing every Vorthon in the galaxy that humans were nothing to fear. She turned to her crew, her voice firm. "Prepare for combat. Let's show these humans what a real warrior looks like." Kelron's eyes held a warning, but he obeyed. Engines roared, weapons charged. And Zyra's ship surged forward into the darkness between the stars. Somewhere deep inside, a small, unspoken thought whispered through her mind. What if the Council's warning had been for her own good? She ignored it, tightening her grip on the armrest. The first move was hers. And she intended to make it unforgettable. Asterisk, the moment Zyra's ship broke formation and moved toward the human vessel. The battlefield seemed to shift. The larger fleets continued their clash in the distance, but here, in the quiet shadow of drifting asteroids, it was now just two ships facing each other. Her crew sat tense at their stations, eyes flicking between the targeting screens, and her calm but determined face. The human vessel didn't retreat. Instead, it slowed and turned slightly, as if giving her a clear path. It was almost insulting, like a predator lying down in front of its prey. Zyra narrowed her golden eyes. They think I'm foolish. Enough to believe this is surrender, she muttered. Kelron leaned closer, speaking low. Commander, something about this feels wrong. Everything about humans feels wrong. Zero replied coldly. That is why they must be reminded of their place. She gave the attack order. And the Vorthon warship surged forward, weapon systems locking. Onto the human vessel, the first volley of plasma fire cut through space toward the target. But the human ship didn't take the hit. It moved, sliding between asteroids with precision that no large vessel should have adjust targeting. Zyra barked, her gunners obeyed, but every shot hit only rock or empty space. It was as if the human ship knew where her weapons would aim before she fired. They are running, one of her crew said. Zyra shook her head, eyes fixed on the screen. No. They are leading us somewhere. The asteroids grew denser, shadows dancing across her hull. Her navigators worked hard to keep up. But the human vessel moved with unsettling confidence. Zyra gritted her teeth. She would not let them slip. Away, pursue, she ordered. We will crush them in their own trap. Then, a warning siren filled the bridge. Commander, sensors are losing lock. Something is jamming us. The tactical officer reported. Zyra's jaw tightened. Jamming in an asteroid field meant she was almost blind to what lay ahead. The humans had planned this route, and she had walked right into it. Still, her pride refused to let her turn back. We are Vorthon, she said sharply. We do not run from tricks. Her crew followed the order. Though unease was heavy in the air, suddenly the human vessel vanished from their forward scanners. Where did they? Kelron started. Before he could finish, a shadow appeared behind them, a second human ship uncloaked directly in their rear blind spot. Its weapons already locked, multiple target locks detected. The tactical officer shouted, on the comes. The same human captain's voice came through. Calm and steady. Lesson 1. Commander Zyra, never assume we are where you think we are. Zyra's hands clenched into fists. Her instincts told her to fight. But the positioning was perfect. They had the advantage. Her crew looked to her. Waiting for the order, she could feel the weight of her own arrogance pressing down. But she refused to show weakness. Divert power to rear shields. She ordered. Prepare to turn and fire. The helmsman complied. But before the turn could be completed, the human ship fired. It wasn't a killing strike. Instead, it hit precise points along her hull. The rear weapon systems went dead. And her targeting array flickered out. They disabled our weapons without damaging the ship, Kelron said, disbelief in his voice. They're playing with us, another crew member muttered. Zyra's pride burned hotter. No one plays with me, she growled. The human captains. Voice returned. You've shown courage, Commander, but also recklessness. This is the second and final time I will give you the choice. Leave now or face a lesson you won't forget. Zyra's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at her to accept the challenge, The council's warning, her crew's fear, even the dangerous situation, none of it mattered. This was about her honor, her name, her reputation as a Vorthon warrior. She gave her answer without hesitation. "Captain, I don't back down from challenges," she said. "Show me what you call a lesson." A long pause followed, then the human's voice came back. With the faintest hint of amusement, "Very well, Commander. We'll begin immediately," on her screen. A new reading appeared. Small craft were detaching from the human ship. They were boarding pods, her crew tensed, preparing for close quarters. Battle Zira allowed herself a confident smile. If the humans wanted to face her hand-to-hand, they were walking into her world. But in the back of her mind, one thought lingered. If they had been this precise in the void of space, what would they be like up close? The boarding pods hit Zira's warship with a deep, metallic thud. The sound echoed through the corridors, vibrating in the bones of every crew member. Klaxons blared and red lights flashed, warning of an incoming breach. Zira stood tall on the bridge, her golden eyes fierce. "They've made their biggest mistake," she said. "Prepare to welcome them with steel." Kelron, her second officer, looked uneasy. "These are humans, Commander. We don't know their style of zero." "Cut him off," her voice sharp. "I know they bleed just like everyone else." On the main display, they watched as the pods drilled into the hull. But something was strange. No weapons fire, no explosive charges, just a clean, precise entry. When the airlock finally hissed open, her warriors waited in a tight defensive formation, energy blades glowing in their hands. Only one figure stepped through. It wasn't an armored squad. It wasn't even a soldier in heavy gear. It was a single human officer, wearing nothing but a standard dark uniform. No helmet, no rifle, just calm eyes and measured steps. Gasps rippled through the Vorthon ranks. Some lowered their blades in confusion. "Where's the rest of your team?" Zira demanded, stepping forward. The human officer stopped a few meters away. Hands loose at his sides. "I am all you need," he said simply, his voice steady and clear. The insult stung. "You think you can take this ship alone?" Zira asked. "I didn't come to take your ship," the human replied. "I came to take your pride." A low growl rumbled from Zira's throat. She motioned for her warriors to stand aside. "If you wish to fight me, human, I will grant you that honor." The human gave a slight nod. "But on my terms, no weapons, no armor. One-on-one." Her crew exchanged shocked glances. To fight without weapons was madness for most species. But for a Vorthon warrior, it was the perfect chance to show dominance. "You will regret this," Zira said, throwing her energy blade to the floor. They moved to a wide cargo bay, the crew forming a circle around them. The atmosphere was tense, charged with unspoken challenge. Zira's stance was solid, knees bent, shoulders forward, ready to strike. The human stood almost casually, his posture relaxed. He didn't look like a threat, and that annoyed her even more when the fight began. Zira attacked fast. She was a blur of motion, her speed and strength, enough to crush most opponents in seconds. But the human didn't try to block her strikes head-on. He stepped aside, redirected her arm, and let her momentum throw her off balance. It happened again. And again, her frustration grew. Every time she tried to hit him, he was simply not there. It wasn't just speed, it was prediction. He seemed to know her moves before she made them. "Fight me properly," she snapped, charging in with full force. The human sidestepped, hooked her arm, and used her own weight to send her sprawling to the floor. Gasps filled the room. Zira leaped up instantly, her pride refusing to let her stay down. She attacked again with a flurry of blows. The human blocked only when necessary, conserving his energy when she overextended. He countered with a sharp but controlled strike that sent her staggering. Her chest burned. Her breath came harder, something she had never experienced so soon in a fight. Her crew's eyes were wide. They had never seen her pushed like this. The human stepped closer, his voice low. "You have strength, Commander. But you fight like a storm, all fury, no control, with sudden precision." He swept her legs out from under her. Before she could react, he pinned her to the ground. One arm trapped, her body immobilized, his face hovered just above hers, calm and unshaken. "Lesson 2, he said softly. "Strength without discipline is nothing." Zyra's pride screamed for her to resist, but she could not break free. The fight was over, and everyone knew it. The human released her and stepped back, offering no mockery, no smile, only quiet. Respect that somehow stung even more than a victory shout. She stood slowly, her gaze locked on him. "You think this is over?" she asked, her voice low. The human shook his head. "No, Commander. This was only the beginning." Without another word, he turned and walked back toward the airlock. Her warriors parted to let him pass. He didn't need guards, he had already proven the point. Zyra's hands clenched into fists. Humiliation burned hotter than any wound. But deep inside, a dangerous spark had been lit. She didn't just want revenge anymore. She wanted to understand how he had done it, and then, to surpass it, the cargo bay was silent except for the faint hum of the ship's systems. Zyra stood at the edge of the open space, her hands curling into fists. Her defeat still burned in her mind. She had never been thrown to the ground like that, not once in her entire career. The human officer stood in the center. His posture relaxed but balanced. He didn't pace, didn't taunt, didn't even smile. It was as if he were waiting for her to make the first move again. That calmness unsettled her more than any blade could. Around them, her crew watched closely. Some looked angry for their commander. Others were quietly curious. Kelron's eyes held a mix of worry and something else. Was it respect for the human? Zyra stepped forward, her voice cold. "You had your surprise victory. Now you will face me properly." The human gave a slight nod. "This time, Commander, you choose the rules." The offer caught her off guard. She could demand weapons, armor, or even a team battle. But something in her pride refused. She wanted to beat him the same way he had beaten her. Bare hands, skill against skill. "No weapons, no armor," she said firmly. But this time, no mercy. They circled each other slowly. Zyra kept her stance tighter this time, her movements less wild. She was determined not to let him use her momentum against her again. The human studied her, eyes narrowing slightly. "You're learning already," he said. She lunged with a quick jab, testing his defense. He blocked effortlessly, but didn't counter. Instead, he moved just out of reach. Forcing her to come to him, frustration pricked at her, but she held it back. If she lost her temper, she knew he would use it against her. They traded short bursts of strikes, a kick here, a punch there, each blocked or avoided. For a moment, it felt almost even. But then the human shifted his weight in a way she didn't expect. In one smooth motion, he caught her wrist, twisted her arm, and sent her stumbling forward. She recovered quickly, but his speed in that moment had been like lightning. "You fight well," he said calmly, "but you still think of battle as domination, not understanding." She didn't answer, she just attacked again. This time she feinted left and struck right. It landed, a solid hit to his shoulder. A murmur of approval rose from her crew, but the human didn't react in pain. Instead, he stepped closer. Closing the gap, his hand shot out. Gripping the back of her neck, he spun her around and swept her legs from under her. Once again, she hit the floor, her breath forced from her lungs. Pinned beneath him for the second time, she felt her pride crumble further. His voice was low but clear. "You are strong, Commander, but you're blind to the rhythm of your enemy." He released her and stepped back, offering his hand to help her up. She refused it. Pushing herself to her feet, "You talk like you know me," she said sharply. "I know warriors," he replied, "and I know when one is letting pride lead the fight instead of purpose." The words dug into her more than she wanted to admit. In the Vorthan Empire, victory was everything. But here, facing this human, she was beginning to see there was more to battle than brute force. Kelron stepped forward from the crowd. "Commander, perhaps there is something to learn here," he said cautiously. Her glare shut him up, but his words stayed in her mind. The human took a step back and looked around at her crew. "Your commander is powerful, but power without understanding is a weapon without aim," he said to them. The crew shifted uneasily, not used to hearing anyone speak to them this way. Finally, he turned back to her. "I'm not here to humiliate you, Zira. I'm here to offer you a chance." Her eyes narrowed. "A chance for what?" "To learn our ways, human tactics, human discipline," he said. "You could leave here now with your pride intact, or you could stay and discover why your council fears us." The mention of the council's fear caught her attention. Her own leaders had warned her away from humans, not out of respect, but perhaps out of caution. "What do you gain by teaching me?" she asked. The human's faint smile returned. "Maybe nothing, maybe everything. That depends on what you do with it." For the first time in the encounter, Zira didn't feel like the predator or the prey. She felt uncertain, and she hated it, but somewhere deep inside, a dangerous curiosity was growing. She wanted to see what this human discipline really was. The duel was over, but the tension still clung to the air like static. Zira stood in the middle of the cargo bay, her breathing slow but heavy. Around her, the crew stayed silent, unsure whether to look at her or the human officer who had just defeated her twice. The human stepped back toward the open airlock where his boarding pod waited. His calm voice carried through the bay. "You fought with courage, Commander. But courage without control leads to ruin." Zira's golden eyes narrowed. "You came here to lecture me?" "No," he said simply. "I came to give you a choice." The words hung in the air. Even her crew shifted slightly, curious. "A choice?" she repeated, her tone sharp. "Yes," the human replied. "You can return to your fleet now and keep believing what you've always believed, that strength is all that matters. Or you can come with us and learn what your council has been hiding from you." The mention of the council made her jaw tighten. "What do you mean by hiding?" she asked. The human's expression didn't change. "They warn you to avoid us. Not because we are dangerous, but because we are different. We fight in ways you do not understand. We adapt, we turn weakness into strength." Her pride bristled at the implication. "And you think I need your lessons?" "I know you do," he said, without hesitation, "because I've seen how you fight fast, strong, fearless, but you don't see the bigger field. You don't think 10 moves ahead. That is why you lost to me. Twice." The sting of his words was worse than any wound around her. She felt the quiet stares of her crew. Kelron stepped forward, speaking carefully. "Commander, there may be value in learning from them." His voice carried no mockery, only sincerity. But hearing her own second officer suggest this sent a rush of heat through her chest. "You would have me submit to a human?" she demanded. Kelron didn't flinch. "I would have you return stronger than any Vorthan alive," he said. Zira turned back to the human. "And if I refuse?" "Ah," he shrugged. "Then I return to my captain, and we never meet again. You can continue fighting as you always have, and eventually you will meet another like me, but without mercy." The challenge in his voice stirred something inside her. She hated the idea of bowing to anyone, especially a human. But she also hated the idea of being defeated again. For the first time in years, she felt the edge of her skill the wall. She had never been able to see before, and beyond that wall was something she didn't understand. Something the humans seemed to move through with ease. She took a long breath. "What exactly are you offering?" 10 cycles of training aboard our ship, he said. "We will teach you human tactics, how to fight with more than your body. How to win before the battle even starts." Her crew whispered among themselves. One of them muttered, "10 cycles is a long time away from the Empire." Another replied, "It could change everything." Zyra's mind turned quickly. If she left with the humans, the Council would see it as betrayal. But if she returned stronger, perhaps even they would have to respect her. She imagined facing her enemies again, but this time with the strange precision the human had shown her. She imagined turning the Council's own warnings into her advantage. Her pride wrestled with her ambition. Finally she spoke. "I will come," she said, her voice low but steady. "But not because I think you are better than me, only because I want to know what you think you know." The human officer's faint smile returned. "That's enough. For now," he said, "we leave at dawn cycle." He stepped back into the boarding pod. Before the doors closed, he added one final line. "Lesson 3 begins tomorrow. Bring your pride, we'll break it." The pod detached and drifted back toward the human ship. Zyra turned to her crew. Kelrin's expression was unreadable. Some of the younger warriors looked uneasy, others looked almost excited. She walked past them without a word. Heading for her private quarters, the weight of the decision pressed against her shoulders. She didn't know if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life, or the choice that would define her forever. The human ship was nothing like Zyra expected. It wasn't grand or decorated like a Warthen warship. Its corridors were narrow, its walls plain metal. Yet everything seemed perfectly placed. Every tool and weapon easy to reach. It was not built to impress, it was built to win. The moment she stepped aboard, the human captain, the same one who had spoken to her in the first transmission, greeted her. "Commander Zyra," he said with a calm nod, "welcome to the Resolute. You will begin training immediately." Zyra's golden eyes narrowed. "I just arrived," she said. The captain's lips curved in the faintest smile, "and war does not wait for you to be ready." Her first lesson began in a large, open room filled with strange equipment. The human officer who had beaten her twice, Lieutenant Rourke, stood waiting. "Today," he said, "we see what you can do without weapons. Without orders, without your crew to back you." Zyra stepped onto the mat, confident. "I have already fought you," she said. "Yes," Rourke replied, "but this time you will face 6 opponents." The bay doors opened, and 6 humans walked in. They were all different, tall, short, heavy, lean, but each moved with quiet readiness. They circled her, and before she could speak, the attack began. She fought fiercely, her strength and speed dropping to opponents quickly. But then the others began moving in perfect coordination. One distracted her, while another struck from the side. When she turned to counter, a third swept her legs. She hit the ground hard. The fight was over in less than a minute. Rourke stepped forward. "Lesson 4, he said. "It's not about who is strongest. It's about who works together best." The next day, she was taken to a simulation chamber. The walls glowed with holographic stars as a mock battle began. She commanded a simulated Vorthen ship against 2 human ships. Her first move was aggressive, a direct charge. The humans scattered, vanishing from her targeting sensors moments later. Her ship was destroyed by a strike from an angle she hadn't guarded. "This is foolish," she said. "This is human," the captain answered. "We don't meet force with force. We make the enemy chase shadows until they are too tired." To see the real threat, days turned into weeks. Every morning began before dawn cycle. Sometimes it was physical training, climbing, swimming, sparring. Sometimes it was mental drills, puzzle solving under time pressure. Making tactical choices with incomplete information, the humans were relentless. If she made a mistake, they made her repeat the exercise until she got it right, at first. Zira resented every moment. Her pride told her she was being treated like a raw recruit. But slowly, she began to notice changes. Her reflexes grew sharper, her patience longer. She began anticipating attacks instead of simply reacting. She started to see the invisible patterns in her opponent's movements. One training session stood out. She was placed in a simulated asteroid field with a human cadet as her partner. Her task, reach a safe zone while avoiding an enemy fleet. Her instinct was to push forward at top speed. But the cadet suggested weaving slowly through the asteroids, letting the fleet's sensors lose track of them. It worked. They reached the safe zone without firing a single shot. It was the first time she had ever won a battle without using force. Later in the mess hall, she sat across from Rourke. "You are starting to understand," he said. Zira frowned. "I understand that humans are unpredictable," she admitted reluctantly. Rourke nodded. "And that is why we survive." Still, she resisted giving them too much credit in her mind. She told herself she was simply gathering knowledge to use for her own people. But in her actions and the way she moved, the way she thought the human influence was already taking root by the end of the 10th cycle. The captain called her to the bridge. "You've learned much," he said, "but your final test is tomorrow. It will not be in the simulator. It will be in the field." Her pulse quickened. "What is the mission?" she asked. He looked at her steadily. "You will command one of our strike teams against a fleet twice your size. No backup, no retreat." A slow, fierce smile formed on her lips. At last, a chance to prove herself, not just to the humans, but to the galaxy. The human strike ship cut through space like a blade. Commander Zira stood on the bridge, her golden eyes locked on the tactical display ahead. The enemy fleet weighted 20 ships, heavily armed and confident in their numbers. Her own team was small. One human strike ship, 5 attack drones, and a handful of support craft. No retreat, no reinforcements, exactly as the human captain had promised. The crew moved with quiet focus. They weren't nervous. They were ready. Rourke stood beside her, offering no commands. "This is your fight, Commander," he said. "You've learned everything you need." Her old self would have charged in head first, but now she saw the battle differently. She traced the enemy formation on the screen. Noticing weak points and blind angles, her mind built the fight before it began. She knew where she wanted them to be 5 minutes from now. "Engage stealth field," she ordered. The ship's systems hummed, and the stars around them seemed to swallow their presence. The enemy scanned the area but found nothing. They spread out slightly, just enough for her plan to begin. She launched 2 drones forward at half power, letting the enemy detect them as expected. The enemy chased the targets, pulling 3 ships away from the main group. She didn't smile. She stayed focused. Every move now had to lead to the next. Once the enemy ships were out of position, she ordered the strike ship into the asteroid belt on their left flank. The humans maneuvered with precision, using the rocks for cover. On her mark, the drones reappeared on the enemy sensors from a new angle. Confusion spread through their formation. Ships turned in different directions, breaking their tight shield. "Network now," she said. The strike ship unleashed a coordinated attack, not at the largest ships, but at their sensor relays, one by one. The enemy's long-range targeting systems went blind. Without them, their heavy weapons were useless. Zira's crew moved like one mind. Every drone, every fighter acted in perfect sync. The enemy tried to regroup, but her team stayed just ahead of them. It was the same lesson she had resisted at first. Control the battlefield before you control the enemy. An hour later, the last enemy ship retreated. its engines burning bright as it fled. Her crew erupted in cheers. Zyra stood silently, feeling the rush of victory, but not the wild, reckless thrill she used to chase. This was different. It was clean, precise, and earned through patience as much as strength. Rourke stepped beside her. "Well done, Commander," he said. She gave him a sidelong glance. "I fought like a human today." She said, "No," he replied. "You fought like yourself, but better." When they returned to the human flagship, the captain met her at the docking bay. "You've completed your training," he said. "You are free to return to your people." Those words should have filled her with relief. Instead, she felt an unexpected weight. Leaving meant going back to the Vorthan way, to orders, to pride, to the same patterns she now saw as flaws. She looked at Rourke and then at the captain. "My people will never understand what you've taught me." She said, "Then teach them." The captain replied simply, "But remember." Not everyone is ready to listen. She returned to her warship days later. The Vorthon High Council demanded a report. They expected tales of human weakness. Instead, she told them they are not weak. They are dangerous because they learn. And they adapt. Some scoffed, others grew uneasy. One elder asked, "And what have you learned?" Zyra's gaze was steady. That victory is not about crushing your enemy's strength. It's about breaking their certainty. The council didn't like her answer. But they could not ignore the results her ship had faced, overwhelming. Oddsson returned without a scratch. Rumors spread quickly through the fleets. Some warriors called her a traitor. Others whispered she was the future of Vorthon warfare, in the quiet of her quarters. Zyra stood at the viewport, watching the stars. Drift past, she thought of the humans, their strange ways, their patience, their willingness to fight without fighting. She would never admit it to the council, but in her heart, she knew the truth. The lesson she would never forget was not about strength or speed. It was about control, foresight, and the courage to let go of pride. She had come to prove humans were nothing to fear. Instead, she had learned they were everything to respect. Her lips curved in a rare, quiet smile. "Only a fool fights the teacher who made them strong," she whispered to herself.